we're going to talk about some adoption of Microsoft Teams. Me and Anders, we're going to go back and forth from some different perspectives on this. Me, I usually work with the end user perspective, from the end user perspective of things and how they feel when they are using these kind of services. And Anders, perhaps more from a technical and governance perspective.
Yes, correct. I usually are implementing, but also a part of the adoption road trip, or so to say, for the companies as well.
Yeah. So I like to begin with this is probably my favorite slide of all time, and I've overused this on pretty much every one of my PowerPoints. So the electric light did not come from the continuous improvement of candles. And for me, this is really what the Microsoft Cloud journey is all about, that we have to take a couple of steps back, think outside the box, do something completely different than before, and end up with the same kind of result that we wanted in the first place, but in a different way. And if we translate this into a bit more modern era with the pressing matters that we have right now with the COVID-19 virus, for example, I see a lot of our customers start to working from home, and some of them are saying that, yeah, you should be at the office as much as you can, but if you can't, then you should be working from home instead. So at least you will be working at some point. And the problem with this is kind of, you don't change the way you work. You just keep working the same way you did. You still make decisions around the water cooler and in the corridor with each other physically, instead of involving those who are working digitally outside. And people are like, oh, this just doesn't work. We can't work this virtual way because, I mean, we make all the decisions at the water cooler and by the coffee machine. This is how the company works. This is how it's run. Now, the thing is, we here at Attitude 365, where me and Anders work, we have never attended even one of these, bathing sessions at one of those Greek bathing houses that was so popular back in the days when you made decisions in the bathing house. And still we have some kind of company up and running and working. So maybe things change, right? So that's basically all this picture is all about. And I also like it so much because if you look at where we are, like with file servers, maybe we reached the point of our full potential with that. Maybe we can do more with what we have. Maybe we've done everything we can when it comes to file servers, when it comes to sending emails and messaging and collaborating in those ways. Now we have to take a step back and do things differently when it comes to Microsoft Teams instead, in order to succeed. So that's kind of what I want to start off with, just setting you on that mindset. When I talk to people about adoption, and usually this is with people, I'll be honest with you, usually this is with technical people, you would like to just send people guides and guidelines and information and tell them how things should be, and then they should just know these things, kind of like this. This is from an old cartoon when I was a kid. So we want to take all this knowledge that we have, and we just want to shove it right down into the head of the users. So now you know how Teams meetings works. Now you know how the update channels works on Windows 10. And now you know that you can co-authorate documents and Word documents and Excel files as long as you put them in here. Now you know all these kind of stuff. But let's face it, this is not really how it works. So instead, the journey to a successful adoption project, whether it's Teams or anything else, it starts with something very, very simple. Anytime I'm in a room or I meet someone in a corridor, anytime I want to teach someone anything, I want them to look at me like this. This is the face of someone who is inspired, someone who understands why this is important, how this is important for that person. So this is the kind of face that you want to look for when you try to teach people things, right? If they are inspired, they will go on to the instruction part later. Then they will be able to learn. Start with why, then go over to how. So what happens when you are inspired is that you start to learn pretty much by yourself. Because now you know why you want to know something. Now I know why Teams meetings would be so beneficial for me. Now I want to know how. where is the button? Which one do I press? Why don't I have a camera? Why don't I have a good headset? That's what I need, a good headset because I want to have a good meeting. I know why, right? But if I just tell people to have good equipment, okay, so what will happen if I don't have good equipment? What if I don't want to have Teams meetings? So begin with the inspirational part, then move over to the instructional part. A person who is inspired will be able to be instructed. It is that simple. So all these guides and guidelines and information that we have, we should keep it, but we should keep it for when they are inspired, when the users are inspired by all these cool features and all these things that they can do that benefits them in their life, not just because we tell them to do it. And I feel like many of those people who want to just instruct others, it's because they understand why. They are already inspired. Like I'm kicking in open doors here. We already know why Teams meetings is great. We already have a structured way of communicating and collaborating within Teams. So we don't have to be, sold this idea. But the thing is, when we go out and we try to tell this to other people, we forget that they are not inspired. They don't know why this is so much better. So they will try to use the old ways in the new ways and just feel like, okay, this wasn't that great. And that's mainly because we tend to start with the instruction before the inspiration. So that's super important, and that's key in everything we do when it comes to adoption. Now, Anders, you have some stuff you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, I want to add us a little bit of stuff when it comes to to teaching the users. We don't want them to be taught. We want them to be inspired to get catch a few things and then learn by themselves and think this is really cool. And how do you actually do that? There's a whole site. You're gonna have the link later on about championship. So you just train the champions that you have on your company, and they then bring out the inspiration for the other users. And one bad example is that IT is setting up education, not pushing just guys, but having an education. And it's more or less 9 out of 10 cases will be coming from a technical point of view. This is how you set up a meeting. This is how you share a file. Here you can add a tab so you get your planner. Then they know how to do it, but I don't know why. So what you want to do is to find stuff, and we'll come back to that later on. We find stuff for your organization, let the champions find those stuff and show them for the user. So when a champion having let's say a town hall meeting, they're then gonna use features in Teams and collaborate in Teams, not for the reason of teaching that stuff, but having a presentation of something else and using those features, and the user will find it, oh, this is cool, and this will, and then they will look like one of the pictures before here. So teach the champions to inspire and educate the rest of the organization.
Right. Now, let's see if I can switch the slide here so it goes blank again. Now, the thing is with adoption, it is an ungrateful and unthankful business, really, because you can do everything right. You can do everything by the book. You've sent out all these emails that you should, by the book, send out. You have talked to all these people. You have an executive sponsor. You have this and you have that. And still, it may not feel like a success. And the reason for this is because happiness is a choice. The same way that our culture will actually set the rules if this is successful or not within our company. We can do the exact same thing for one company and for the next company, and it works super great on this company right here, works terrible on the other one. And that's mainly because of the culture at that company, and that people are open to transparent information flowing. They are allowed to make mistakes. They are allowed to send out things, and it came out wrong. That's too bad, but we'll fix it and we'll just move on. We won't dwell at it. So if people are feeling secure, then yeah, they will try these features more. So that's actually one of the topics for a successful team adoption journey. Make sure you're building your culture at the company to be open, to be transparent, to allow mistakes to be made, and not just yell at people who are making the mistakes. Essentially, as you can see here, number one in first place. Let's say they done everything. They've done even more than the person in third place, since, well, they are in first place. So they've set up a more secure environment. They have conditional access all up and running. They have all these technical features. Everyone has a team. Everyone has this and that. But what they're lacking is the culture where it's okay to make mistakes and okay to try things. So by the end of the day, the people on third place will be happier. And the people on third place, your company, should be on third place on this. Remember that, you know, perfection is really the enemy of great. So that's also an important mindset when it comes to teams and adoption in general, really. I, for some reason, put in this picture. This is actually a picture that I took a couple of weeks ago in a city where I grew up. We buy junk, but we sell antiquities. And this is kind of also the mindset that you should adopt in your journey. Yeah, we are bringing in people who are sending out messages in completely the wrong way, who are using Planner in completely the wrong way. But when we're leaving them, we leave them better than we found them. So we're helping them to become antiquities instead of junk, essentially. And also, when it comes to your adoption journey and your project planning, don't take shortcuts. You will thank yourself later on. So if you think to yourself, should we have this workshop with the champions one more time before we go live? Should we spend some time with actually doing a good guide that we can send out to people who are asking questions later on? You should be doing that. Should we meet the service desk one more time just to make sure that they are feeling secure in what Teams can really deliver? Yes, you should, because that will benefit you later on. Because, for example, the service desk, well, that's one very good group of people when it comes to adoption. They will meet all these problems. They will meet the problems, and they will meet the users when they are angry because it doesn't work. And this should just be working, right? So that's really a group that you want to focus on being happy about Teams, really. You know, they're not feeling like they just got this thrown into their knees and, well, this is some kind of software. We're supposed to use it now, but it doesn't work and no one understands this. I don't like it. If that's what they will feel and experience, then that's what they will transcend or transcend. That's what the kind of feeling that they will transfer to the users as they are discussing different kind of problems with Teams. That will show up. You will have some problems with people not understanding how things work or having the wrong kind of equipment. But when that happens, you want to not have taken any shortcuts when it comes to adoption. Now, to be a bit more concrete, Anders, how should we think when it comes to, you know, what we should do in terms of scenarios, for example, in terms of adoption?
How many good guys we have, how many good video education videos we got, or nice poses in the elevators. The end user organization always going to ask us why do we need this? I can chat in Skype, I can send files with emails, I don't need this. So you need to target a specific user, specific teams within the user. In this case, in this example, we have the sales management that also have interviews with those people, or someone who actually can tell you what are the needs, what they want to accomplish with their day-to-day work. So you can actually find real scenarios within the business, and you need to do it for sales and HR and each respectively what they are doing, or it's inside of the industry or something like that. But you need to find those scenarios within each department and map that to specific technology as well. Of course, if it's sharing files within Teams or just having Teams meetings. But you map those and build success stories around those scenarios. And those scenarios is easier to communicate to the end users. And also, like I talked before about the champions, these are really good tools for them to let the organization know, the broad organization know, why are we doing this? Why is the benefit for my department, for my company? What is the benefit for my department? What is the benefit for in my day-to-day work? So that's also make okay, this is going to help me in my work. How do I do that? I want to know that. I want to learn that. Where is the guides? Where is the videos? Can we have a Teams meeting to show us how to do it? And then the users actually ask for the information instead of IT or the adoption product pushing the information.
Yep. Why?
Yeah, these are some examples of scenarios. So we let's say we talk for CFO, a vendor as the CFO here. She has difficulty communicating with all or some employees. You can do that in multiple different ways, of course, and you can just push for intranet, and you can push it for sending out by email. But here you can find that specific scenario, map it to live events in this case, where you want to push information from the company, from the management to organization, like in information, or this is going to happen, or we're going to handle the corona situation like this. And then we use Yammer or other solutions for keeping a dialogue around this. So when mapping these scenarios, we can also use those scenarios, like I said before, when using the town hall or when doing information. We stop sending out the emails when we start using this. And of course, we want Wendy here to be one of our champions then as well.
And the important thing is to not really see that using Teams is the end goal, but you have some other issue, and maybe Teams can be the solution to that end goal or that issue. So that might be the fix for your problem, and that's how you really drive adoption, because that's the why. People don't want to use Teams. People want to solve an issue.
Exactly, and of course you can take the best benefit would be take a couple of different issues and solve that by one solution, and that in many ways that could actually be using Teams more actively every day.
So I want to stop by and talk a little bit about the adoption journey when it comes to consultants, because the adoption journey it differs a little bit from a technical one. And in terms of hiring consultants, I do have some recommendations. You should do it completely unbiased, right? As a consultant. No, really. The thing is, hiring a consultant is actually relevant because you get to have someone who has done the journey before you, and you can just ask them for tips or guidance, or you can get kind of like being like in this case, you can get yourself a driver. But the thing is, getting from point A to point B is not the way to do it when it comes to adoptional journeys. This is kind of how you would usually do more with technical products. You just want to get from point A to point B as fast as you can, so you hire the fastest driver. That way you will be getting there as fast as you can, right? But I would say the adoption journey is a little bit different. In this case, it's more about the journey in itself. So let's say in this case that we have a technical project. The value comes when we go live, when we do the release. So we have 0 value for a long time, but then we do the release, then we go live with the solution, feature, product or program, and now suddenly it has value because now it exists for us. But the adoption journey is more like this. It goes on during the journey. So as people are progressing, as people are learning and are becoming better at using the tools that they have been provided and getting into a different mindset, they will evolve and they will eventually rise to the occasion. So the goal of a technical project, yes, that would be to kind of move the go live date as far left as possible, right? So getting from point A, which is on the lower left of the graph, to point B, which in this case would be the go live date. If we can move that closer to each other, then that's perfect, that's brilliant. Let's just go with that one. But when it comes to adoption project, we want this curve to go as steep up as possible, right? So that's why we want to use the consultants, but when we want to get all these tips and all these recommendations, but we don't want to do it while sitting in the back seat. You want to be sitting in the driver's seat. So when looking at this, don't look at it like the picture before with the driver. Rather, look at it like this. You're the driver. You're supposed to be doing the driving, and you are supposed to be, the best at what you're doing. The consultant can only assist you and counsel you to become a better version of yourself. Or if you like sports, use it like this like this metaphor instead, with the football coach. Now this particular guy is coaching a kids team, so just by getting him in there won't mean that the kids will suddenly magically play football much better than they did before, but they might have a better chance of doing it because the coach will hopefully knows how to play football and knows how to improve your game as well. But by the end of the day, you are the one who have to actually go out on the field and kick the balls. And by the way, in this case, even if you know in theory, because the coach told you that you should do a pass into the goal area, and someone else should get the pass and then score, hopefully. Even though you know that in your heart and you know that this is in theory what you should do, it's a completely different thing to actually do it. So what I want to really bring with you and give to you in this case is there's a big difference between knowing and doing, and it's a team effort. So even if you have some guy who is super great at this, or even if you have this driver person, it's all in the end, it's all a team effort. So everyone has to be on board, and that's why we're also talking about all these this culture where it's okay to make mistakes, for example. So in terms of consultants, please do look into them if you need to, but see them as consultants and coaches. You should be in the driving seat. This is your journey. You should drive it. And in terms of communication, this is probably the most important thing of all. I mean, everything about an adoption project revolves around communication. And usually when I work with technical people, they haven't done that much work together with communicational departments, but most organizations do have some communication department. So I'm actually urging you right now to reach out during your current project. Just reach out to someone in your communicational department and ask them for some help. Ask them for advice. Ask them for a recommendation. Just if nothing else, create some collaboration in Microsoft Teams with your communication department and live the way you learn. So this is really what's going to make the difference if you will be successful or not when driving your adoption journey, regardless if it's Teams or anything else. Now, a concrete tip when it comes to communicating in Teams that I'm actually not seeing that much of is this. You can use the A format button and then bring up this, formatting field. That I have seen, yeah, sure. And some people are switching it out, as you can see up on the left, to an announcement and putting in a banner. Here, my first tip, just download some pictures. Decide upon a picture folder, I've done so, and just download like 10 different pictures that you can choose from. That way, when you want to do an announcement, you don't have to start looking for a picture online. You can just go to your library, or even yet create a library for your champions to pick from. Next one off, you can actually use different headlines within your Teams message, and please do that. I see so many long messages sent out and big communications that doesn't really have that much of a structure with it, so it's just messy and fussy, which brings us over to the, I don't even know what that's called, the line. I'm using it quite often. And I've never seen anyone else use it, so please send some in the chat just to make me feel like someone else is using these features as well. But that's a super clever way to kind of have a lot of information in one conversation and still divide it into multiple sections. And then for the geeks, yes, there is a code snippet, so you can actually post code in there that is readable for other geeks. So that's some tips for you guys. I will also send you a link on how you can stay relevant in your champions team in terms of communication. And that's super simple, but it's a SharePoint list with tips that you can set up in advance and then use Power Automate to constantly give a feed into your champions network of Teams tips. It doesn't have to be Teams tips, it could be any kind of tips. But that's also one of the important things when it comes to communication. We don't have to just do one golden nugget. We have to keep it coming. We have to keep the flow alive and the feed alive. So I'll send you the link, and hopefully you will have some help with it. Now, in terms of rewards and recognition, I'm actually just going to leave this as a tip for you. This is completely stolen from the teamwork assessment workshop, and if you haven't done the teamwork assessment already, well, it's delivered through a partner from Microsoft, and it's basically a great assessment with a lot of all these key questions that you should be asking yourself in terms of adoption. And this is just one of those tips that you get on how you can set up a reward and recognition program. Like, why should I do all these things, and why should I, as a champion, spend all this time and learn and teach others all these great things? What do I get? What do I gain? Why? Again, with the why, right? So this is just one of those tips from that assessment, and there's a lot more in there. Now we have 2 minutes to go, Anders, and we have some things to consider in a list like this. Should we just try to wrap this up, or should we?
I think so. So we have some time for questions if there are any.
Exactly. So we'll just go super quick through these things to consider. First of all, you're not sending emails without subjects. Well, don't do it in Teams either. Always begin your team message with a subject and lead the way you learn, right? Others will follow. And that's super important when it comes to adoption, actually. So always answer in threads and assist those who makes this simple mistake. Again, with a culture where it's okay to make mistakes. If someone answers a thread by creating a new conversation instead, just make a print screen of that conversation and put that into the original one, and then continue the conversation from there. Let the other one just go, and don't actually question what they were doing. Just act like normal, and they will see their mistake and just move on. Lead by example. If you want people to use their camera, use your camera. That way they will follow. That's also just actually going to linger to that one for a second. People are saying that it's super important to use the camera, and then they're not using the camera by themselves. It's kind of sending mixed messages there. And it's a team effort, as I said, with the consultants and the coach. Even if the coach is great, we have to do this as a team. So focus on the team and get everyone on board, and everyone should have some basic knowledge in terms of adoption. It's not the goal itself. You have to find the why, and I will send the link to one of my idols when it comes to leadership, Simon Sinek, when he talks on the TED Talk on how great leaders inspire action. Now, do we have any questions, or do you want to go over your bullet points as well, Anders?
I just have one point. It's not a slide though. Is that it's said before, and it can be said probably forever. It's not a technology project to set up teams. It's an adoption project. It's an organization project. So when Ville was talking about the consultants, you don't need a real technical consultant or a real security consultant. That's a small part when you're rolling out the Teams client, so the user can start using it. To get all the benefits from Teams, you need to use a real adoption program. I have not a start and an end date for that project. It's like Ville said, it's an ongoing project to make sure that your users are evolving using Teams.
Now I'm trying to look in the chat window if there is any questions. I just realized that there is no session back to back with this, so maybe we didn't have to have that, hurrying in the end. Is there anyone who has any questions who want to present them? Just speak out loud right now. Oh. All right. Thank you so much then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for attending.
Bye.
Bye.